Exercise 8.10. Richard Hill on Belgium. Richard Hill, you're British and living in Belgium. How did you actually end up here?
Well, I had always wanted to live outside my own country, and I've had the opportunity in a long, long time ago, it's almost in prehistory, 1967, when I was working for a company in London, and very suddenly they decided that they had to have a presence on the continent. And so I had the opportunity of looking at 3 countries, Switzerland, Belgium and the Netherlands, and I chose to come and settle here to start a business.
What sort of ideas did you have about Belgium and the Belgians before you came here? What did you know about the country?
I hadn't got a very clear picture of the country, except that I found that it rained a lot, like in my own country. And I was living and working in the dock area of Antwerp. Consequently, it was not the most beautiful part of Belgium. And so I left the country with a rather unclear idea of what it was really like. And I only discovered that when I came here the second time in 1967. And then I began to get to know the country. And in fact, I think I probably, in terms of where places are and what they look like, I know more of Belgium than any of the average Belgian does, whatever the average Belgian may be. I have really explored this country, and it's an absolutely wonderful place to live in too.
What do British people in general think about Belgian people?
I think generally you can say that people appreciate the relative freedom in this country, although there is at times there's the intrusion of what strikes you as being rather small-minded bureaucracy. But in reality, it's no worse than any other country, and probably even better. So people appreciate the relative freedom, and what they also appreciate is the natural appreciation that the average Belgian, I'm talking about the average Belgian again, has of the quality of life, of the good life even, that people like good food, and that shows in the variety of opportunities you have to eat well when you go out. In the appreciation of many of the simpler pleasures of life, which is to some extent missing in other countries, certainly missing in a neighbouring country like the Netherlands, and to some extent missing in England too.
In your book, We Europeans, you focus on national stereotypes. What made you want to write about something like that?
That's the $64,000 question. I've never really known the answer to that. It's been obviously germinating in my mind for many, many years. I actually took the decision to do something about it in 1989. When I first started thinking about my first book, We Europeans, because I had recently sold my business and didn't appreciate the idea of going into retirement, and felt I wanted to keep active, and I wanted to do something different from what I'd done before. And I thought, well, in my previous job, I had worked more or less as a journalist. In fact, I was working as a public relations consultant, but I was doing journalistic assignments with regard to products and systems made by the companies I worked for. And so I'd be sent off to all sorts of places, like a sawmill in the middle of Sweden, or a collective farm in southern Poland, or a factory in northern Italy. And I would be asked to go and talk to the people and find out what their experience had been with our clients' systems or products, and to write this up as a case history. And this gave me a great deal of exposure to ordinary people in these different countries. And it was from that although I didn't actually keep extensive notes at the time, I had it all stored in my head, and I was able to put it together in my first book.
So to finish, could you give an example, or maybe a few examples, of typical ethnic jokes that the British or other nationalities tell about the Belgians?
The one I like about the Belgians, my favourite joke, and I think it may be my favourite partly because it's affectionate, and it comes from the French. And it's about the Belgian who is visiting, let's say, Lille, somewhere in northern France, and he's walking around the town and he finds a monkey, which has evidently got lost. And so he takes the monkey by the hand and walks him off down the street, And sure enough, he finds a gendarme standing on a street corner, and the gendarme goes up to him and says, "What are you doing with that monkey?" And the Belgian said, well, I wanted to ask you what I should do. I found him. He's lost, obviously. Where should I take him? And the policeman said, well, take him to the zoo. So off the Belgian goes. And the following day, the policeman's standing on the same corner again, and he's very astonished to see the Belgian coming along, still holding the monkey by the hand. So he goes up to him and he says, what are you doing with that monkey? I thought I told you to take him to the zoo. And the Belgian says, yes, but that was yesterday. Today I'm taking him to the cinema.
I remember there was another joke in your book. It was about the advice given to American airline pilots. What was that?
He's an airline pilot that is making his maiden flight from, let's say, Kennedy in New York to Brussels, and he's getting instructions from his instructor. And the instructor says, well, what you do is this. You fly 6 hours due east, and you'll cross some islands off the main continent of Europe, and that's Ireland and then England. So you start to descend, keep straight on, and you'll find yourself over a country where you find lavatory paper out on the lines, drying in the wind. And that's Holland. And there you turn right and you descend, and that's Belgium.
And the joke's supposed to show that the Belgians have no identity of their own, is that right?
That, unfortunately, is often the case. I even had an American say to me some time ago, he said, look, in France they speak French and in Holland they speak Dutch, so I guess in Belgium you speak Belgian. So I said, no, we don't. And most people think, of course, because of history, that Belgium is essentially a French language-speaking country. And I've even had an American ask me if I came from Africa, because he thought Belgium was in Africa.